Hello, all you wonderful Rise of Kingdoms players out there. This is Dragothien here. Today we're going to be going over the top 5 pairings for cavalry on the open field. Now, usually on this channel, when I say top 5 cav pairs, I mean all 5 of the pairs are going to be on the field at the same time. But I wanted to give you the top pairings, period, because I wanted you, if you have 1 or 2 cav pairs out there, I wanted you to know who to go after and what to select to get your ideal 5 armies setup going if you're not going one particular troop type, okay? So with that being said, we're going to go 1 through 5. I'm going to explain my reasoning behind all of them and why I chose them at which position. And let's go ahead and just jump into it. I think these are going to be fairly self-explanatory. Some might be a little bit different than others. Some might rank 2 to 4 differently. And maybe even 5 differently, depending on how sold you are on that pair. But I'll explain my ranking for number 5. And it's going to be interesting, I guess. I don't know. Let's talk about it. That being said, let's jump into number 1. So number 1 is going to be XY William. Now, I had some trouble putting this at number 1. And it's weird because I think everybody kind of universally has XY William or XY something as their top pair. And the reason I still put him at number 1 is because of his first and fourth skill. So XY obviously has one of the fastest rage generations in the game, making him a priority target, by the way. And he does a ton of damage. So XY Zhongyu, his first skill, reduces the defense in an AoE area, by the way, of 30% when maxed out for 3 seconds. Is a 1700 damage factor on his primary skill, but he does have a 25% damage reduction per target, so that is a little different, but still tons of damage getting pumped out, tons of attack, tons of march speed. You get extra march speed when you are attacked, but don't get attacked for too long because his fourth skill will basically start draining your march speed very quickly. It starts to stack up pretty high. Third skill is a rally skill, so if you're open field, it doesn't really matter. But again, his expertise gives him extra skill damage. Now, his first part of that is you just get a flat 10% skill damage. Okay, cool. The second part, though, is when troops have gained a rage buff for more than 1 turn, their skill damage will increase for another 10% for 3 seconds. This is why I hesitate putting William with Zhongyu, because William, on his fourth skill, has a rage per turn effect. However, it only lasts for 3 seconds, and for the skill for Zhongyu to come around that quick with William as a secondary on that same march, it very rarely will trigger that 10%. However, what outweighed that benefit, that synergy for me, was the fact that because Zhongyu casts those skills so quickly, his rage requirement is so low, he's going to be firing off William's primary skill, which not only is a very strong 1500 damage factor AoE bar almost for 3 targets, but it strips the skill damage buffs from all those targets, and it reduces their march speed by 30%. You're always chasing, guys. When you got XY, you're almost always chasing, and this will help. William firing off that skill more often will help reduce the speed of the target that you're trying to take down. Not to mention, again, you do get a 15% increased marching speed, which Zhongyu desperately needs when we're talking about once you get those negative 10% march speeds stacking up. Now, also, if you're outside of Alliance territory, which again, if you're pushing in KVK, you get an increase to 10% damage anyway. So the 10% increase to damage is very, very nice. But the other reason is because of the fourth skill being so strong, not only do you're trying to get that for yourself, right? But it's an AoE buff. So 5 targets will get 20% increased defense and 50 rage per second. And if you've got all your marches up, you're getting that. Okay, so your march is getting that, and then your other 4 marches, or if you have 6 marches or 7 marches in Heroic Anthem, obviously it will have to choose, but you are the priority. So you're going to be giving yourself 20% defense for your entire army more often because Zhongyu just casts his skills so quick, especially if you go Feral Nature on the skill talents. It's a rage engine burr. Okay, that's how strong Zhongyu is on the rage. And again, the benefits that William has on the open field is so many fold. I mean, with the skill damage buff removal, with the AoE damage that he causes, with the AoE slow that he provides, with the AoE buff for defense that he provides, with the AoE rage generation over 3 seconds that he provides. He just does so many things so very well, and he does a ton of damage to boot. That's why I have him at number 1. If only we could get that 3-second rage tick to trigger Zhongyu all the time, this would be the perfect Cav pair. There would not be a reason to look around elsewhere. Number 2, I've got Zhongyu Chandra. Now, usually I like to see Chandra primary, and the reason being his first skill, and I don't have him maxed out anymore because of the refund that they did way back. But troops led by this commander gain, when it's maxed, 40% increased damage for 3 seconds. At the same time, they gain 1 stack of Blessed. Blessed can stack up to 3 times. And again, as you max them out, you can stack it up to 4 times. And then Blessings give you extra damage, blah, blah, blah. Second skill is a rallying skill. Again, this is why XY Chandra is such a great pair, because they both have really solid rallying skills each, and really start to stack up the damage. Third skill, though, is a massive debuff, health and defense debuff, which you absolutely need to take down targets, and certainly in rallies and things like that. But open field, it's just as good. Not to mention the fact that you do increase your own health, and each attack has that 50% chance to do the debuff. So you're increasing your health and you're debuffing your target. And then the fourth skill, again, giving you damage taken reductions to cavalry. And then after using an active skill, your march speed is increased by 25%, which again, we talked about how good it is to give Zhongyu march speed, because he can either be really, really fast or really, really slow. So giving him that extra march speed bonus is really nice. And then of course, that fourth skill also causes a large amount of damage depending on how many stacks you have. And really that depends on if you have him expertised or not. If you have Chandra expertised, you should be at 3 or 4 stacks pretty much religiously, and be good to go, especially with the update to him. Whereas before, when he first came out, it was hard to get 2 stacks, even expertised. So XY Chandra is my second number 2 pairing. And again, just continuing to keep that health and defense debuff up, the Arthashastra skill from Chandra. XY, that's a devastating debuff that you want to have up all the time, going all the time, getting that 50% chance over and over and over and over again. And again, just having that massive damage output from both commanders. Number 3, we go back to William. We go Saladin William. This is a classic pair that will never get old. Okay, so if you don't have XY, if you don't have Chandra, you can use Saladin and William and be absolutely perfect. In fact, if you're a free-to-play player or a very low spender, or you're very early on in your rock game career, 5-5-5-1 on both of these commanders, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. You want the expertise eventually from William first because of the extra damage factor, because of the extra damage for the surround, things like that. You do get the same thing, bonuses from Saladin for the extra damage factor, the extra march speed reduction, and the extra healing effects received reduction. But you can use them both, 5-5-5-1, and that's basically one max legendary commander, but having a solid Cav legendary pair. That's pretty sweet. You can't complain about that. That's why it's my third best March for Cav that you can get in the game right now. And you can use this in Canyon, you can use this in open field, you can use this in ruins fights, altars fights, whatever. This is a great pair. Okay. Number 4. Same idea, just another classic pair when they first came out together. Chandra and William. Again, I like Chandra being primary. One, because I favor the skill talent trees over the attack talent tree. And secondly, again, you have this bonus on the primary, the 40% increased damage to troops, or 4 troops on that first primary skill. And again, just stacking all that stuff up. I just like having it. And again, Chandra primary, William secondary is my number 4 pick for open field pairs. And again, we already talked about how good William is and how much you want him on the battlefield. He just does so many amazing things. Number 5, it's painful for me to do this because I personally believe that Attila Takeda is kind of done. Like, Attila Takeda is kind of done on the open field when it comes to being a murder ball. You're going to get a good trade. You're going to get a good trade. When you, like, if you're that guy and you send Attila Takeda out, you're going to get a good trade. You're going to come back and you're going to look at that report and you're going to see 10,000 severely wounded for you and 18,000 severely wounded for your enemy, or 20,000 depending on what kind of troop it is or whatever, right? And you're going to be like, man, Attila Takeda is really good. And they're good, okay? And the reason I have them at number 5 is more for a situation, which is what I'll talk about in just a second. But what are you doing? What are you doing for everybody else? Like, what have you done for me lately? Kind of thing. You know what I mean? I just went over 4 really good pairs that helps debuff targets, that helps AoE buff your allies or yourself, or both. You have AoE debuffs for Zhongyu with the defense debuff. You got William debuffing March speed. You got him doing, again, the AoE defense buff. You got an AoE rage generation buff. I mean, you got so many other things with all these commanders. What does Attila Takeda do for anybody else? I mean, besides the primary skill, right? His primary skill is an attack reduction, okay? So you got, for the next 4 seconds, the normal attacks and counterattacks led by this commander deal 30% increased damage, and normal attacks have a 50% chance to reduce the target's attack by 50%. That's huge. But it's only half the time, and it's for 2 seconds. But it can trigger once every 2 seconds. So technically you can have this up all the time, you know, if it happens to be that way, but it's 50% chance. I would say you have it up 50% of the time, would be my guess. Maybe 75% of the time. I think 75% of the time you'll have a negative 50% attack debuff on your target. That's really the only benefit that this provides to the group. Everything else is personal stuff, a rally buff. Let's see, deal 30% reduced skill damage. Same time, cav units gain 15% march speed and 40% increased attack. Same thing with here. Increasing damage dealt for 2 turns has a 25% chance for 50 and 25% chance for 100. Takeda does a nice little debuff for normal attack damage, so there is a little bit of a damage boost for everybody involved hitting that target, but it's still not 100%. Like, cav your skill damage, you're nuking. With the exception of Attila Takeda, you're nuking with cav. Okay, so the increase to normal, the normal damage, while it is beneficial and it is used by everybody, it's not like a massive, huge boost. It's still nice to have. It's just not, again, it's not the 30% debuff for defense. It's not the AoE slow. It's not the AoE rage regen. It's not all the things that William provides. That's why I've got these guys number 5. Some people got these guys number 1. Some people have Attila Takeda number 1 on their best cav builds because they just get good trades. I mean, they get good trades. You're gonna come back. If you go out with your Attila Takeda, you're gonna go out and you're gonna tap a couple archers, you're gonna tap a couple cav players out there, and you're gonna come back and be like, man, those trades were awesome. You're gonna look at those trades and just sit there and flick them, and you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm doing really good. But overall, I mean, on the open field, it's a group game, guys. It's a group game, and Attila Takeda is a me pairing. So again, when can you use this as a top 5 legendary commander pairing? Well, you want to have these guys at a ruin. You want to have these guys at an altar where you can only have 1 march. I think that any of the other 4 would be just fine too, and probably more beneficial to your alliance if you had them. But if you're just going for me, like, I love me some me, YOLO all day, right? Attila Takeda is great because you can hop in and out of structures with the attack talent line. You can have hasty departure. You can just be speeding around and tapping people and getting good trades and popping back in resource nodes and floating around, and you'll never get a negative trade the entire time that you'll be fighting. But again, you won't necessarily be helping your alliance out too much, with the exception of the normal attack debuff, the damage debuff that you apply to the target from Takeda's primary skill, Fierce as Fire, and then the first skill from Attila, giving that negative 50% attack bonus, which is strong, guys. Don't get me wrong. That's strong. It's strong. But you got to sit there. And most people that play Attila Takeda don't just sit there in a murder ball and leave their Attila Takeda attacking one target nonstop. They don't do that. That's not how they play Attila Takeda. And really, I don't know if you should play Attila Takeda that way. You should be a harasser. A harasser. So that's what I'm thinking, guys. If you have other ideas, suggestions, throw them in the comment section below. make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. It is very appreciated on this channel. I appreciate you all, for those of you that have done so already. And again, looking forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Cheers. Have a good one and take care.